Hey everybody. Testing 1 2 1 2.
Oh, hello,
Testing.
Marhaba.
What is that?
How are you doing?
Happy Friday. If I could angle the phone down at my kitchen desk, my kitchen's my desk for today. It's got this doing some research,
Oh,
the
nice.
laptop. Yeah. Yeah. Busy week. How about yourself?
Yeah, same. I can see your TRX in the back.
Yes, this is
Um,
like my office slash kitchen slash gym.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, you got like everything at your disposal at that point, right? It's like you go from
Yeah,
exercise to your protein shake
exactly.
to your
It's just
research.
actually, if you think about it, it's just efficiency,
Yes, yeah,
having it all in one room.
all about that efficiency.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
how about that? Finally, a little bit of good weather, right?
I can't wait to get outside today. And it's one of those moments where you have to kind of you have to try to be objective and say, okay, I'm going to step away from work because there's always going to be work to do. And then you just got to go outside. So I'm like half changed, ready to start my work. And as soon as we wrap up here for our final week,
Yes. Yeah, so we should probably say something like about that, that this is sort of the last installment in our four-part series, fitness, was it Friday Fitness Forum?
there you
That's what
go.
we decided. I honestly, I love the name. I think we should stick with it. So just heads up for everybody, we'll take a break next week as we tend to some other matters in business that we have on the go. And then we're thinking about possibly doing another one, and we're looking for some input. So we have some ideas that we're playing around with. But if you guys, if there's anything that people want to hear us talk more about, I know nutrition is a big thing right now.
Hmm.
And I honestly would love to talk about that stuff. So if anybody would like to see a sort of similar thing dealing with a four-part on nutrition and a little bit of educational stuff around that, I'd be more than happy to do it. I don't know if that would be something you're interested in as well, Francesca.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would stay within scope, of course, as
Yes.
much as we can. But I think another thing that some people might be interested in would be just for the sake of an argument, I'll say, what are the best exercises, even though there are no best exercises. I think maybe if we covered certain exercises and why they're so great. Like, okay, so the common ones like squats. People are always trying to improve and perfect their squat. What are the
Mhm.
benefits? What's common injuries? And I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of discussion that we can do around
Well,
strength and fitness.
yeah, and it would definitely have to include a little bit of sort of the dispelling some of the myths about whether or not like is squat the best exercise. I don't know. I don't. I mean, for who? There's so many things to
For
consider,
who?
right?
Yeah, it's for
For what
who. And
purpose as well? Like, heavy squats versus lower squats. Like, and it just seems again a lot of the average person usually thinks about exercise with this approach of burning calories. I'm exercising because I need to burn calories and not too much beyond that, which I think that's what ends up causing a lot of issues with people in terms of injuries, imbalances, if you will. I'm not a fan of that word, but we'll just use it for the sake of argument. Um, and tons of people flock to group classes because they want to feel the sweat and feel the burn, and they think, okay, if I do that, then I could eat whatever I want, or it counteracts the quote unquote crap that I'm eating. But anyway, yeah, I mean that could be part of
yeah,
the
I think if
four-part approach.
people remember their main objective and their goal, like if it's just to move more and feel great and have energy and be with friends and a support system, absolutely. But if you do have tangible, specific goals when it comes to your fitness, you have to recognize that your training should reflect that.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
But we
Yeah.
can definitely integrate that with our topic for the day,
Yes.
virtual training.
So we're going to be talking about virtual training. I'll set up real quick the main points that we want to go over, and then you can sort of start in on the first one. So the main ones, and for anyone who's also interested, I did a short video series on this. but we wanted to do something where we can share a bit more of our experience that we've had with this. And so the 5 parts are going why everybody should hire a virtual trainer. Anyone who can afford it, hire a virtual trainer, are going to be safety, convenience, cost effectiveness, it works, and finally, it supports small and local businesses. So without further ado, let's go over the first one, safety. What are some of your thoughts and experiences with it since
So
you've started doing this?
So we started doing online virtual training with the onset of COVID, and I think that may have been an initial concern for some of my clients, where one client kind of absolutely was like, no, I really need you there. But the amount of responses that I got with, no, I'm not going to do virtual, it was actually less than I anticipated. I thought a lot of people would not be open-minded, and then a lot of them actually were, because they wanted to really just carry on the coaching and the fitness, and then whenever we did resume back to in-person, they wouldn't have skipped a beat. So that was a really important aspect for them. And we talked about how things would go initially with regards to safety, and I explained that we have to be a team here when we're training together. Hi, Brandon. Thank you. When we're training together, we have to work together, where I really need to see the angles as best as possible. So if I need you to change and adjust the camera angle so I can see sagittal plane, frontal plane, okay, can you angle the camera up? And we tag team, and now nearly a year in, my clients are pros when it comes to, I don't even have to ask, they just know what camera angle I'll probably look for. And then I could just say, okay, let's get a front view this time, just so I can really see as much as I can, because I don't have that in-person experience. Us working together and just understanding the environment that we're working in with the constraints has really addressed safety and trust, and it's worked out quite well. Where there are instances where you think it might be unsafe. So, for example, it was yesterday, I was teaching a client a front foot, like a heel elevated split squat, where I had them to just grab a book, again, because we're all kind of limited on equipment, just grabbed a book, and then he had put the book on the carpet. And then I quickly was like, it would probably be best to put the book on the mat, just in case the book might slip. He's like, yeah. So just being hyper aware of things like that. These are things that maybe the client may or may not consider when it comes to just safety. Should I have socks for this exercise? Should I not? Should I be wearing running shoes? What are my surroundings? And that's also been an instance in a class that I teach for a corporate boot camp, where I'm like, okay, if we're doing speed skaters, just like watch your surroundings and get moved furniture. So things that people may not consider, they may not, but having a coach that is aware of those potentials for unsafety conditions, because we have to be aware of safety in person anyways, so we just naturally carry that over when it comes to virtual training.
And that's something obviously that we're also considering when we're training in a gym setting as well. And even people just from a safety perspective training at the gym on their own, I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but there's like so much injury associated with the gym, where the treadmill is considered the number one piece of equipment that most people injure themselves on. And I would not have ever believed it until I have worked as a trainer, and I've seen people like just fly off it, or they're trying to check their phone and they stumble, or like it can get pretty bad. And the other thing about it, just sort of relating it specifically to what we are all going through right now, the pandemic, with regards to personal hygiene now. With virtual training, you don't have to worry about wearing a mask, about how close the other person is, about whether or not a piece of equipment has been disinfected or not. You're in the safety of your own home. For some people, it's difficult to even fathom just going outside and have other people just start to get a bit too close to them.
Right.
So being in the vicinity of someone else in a gym who is breathing heavily, you don't know what kind of bubble they're in, who and what people are, attending that area as well. Oh, I'm just reading
Oh,
what boss lady is saying.
she's throwing me off.
Everyone's been, hey, everybody's been there. I mean, I've been on the treadmill. I was like, okay, I need to get off now before I seriously hurt myself.
My first personal training job, a guy was wearing, do you remember those tearaway pants?
Yeah. Oh
They were really down
no.
her ankles and it got caught under the belt and he flew off. And when I went to go help him, his pants had ripped off and he was like just in his drawers. Yeah.
Okay.
Safety
Lovely.
first, guys. Moving
So
on.
okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's insofar as safety is concerned, virtual training is really safe, and especially when you have a competent coach like Francesca was saying, who is monitoring your planes of motion from the front, the side, the back. That's really important. So it's something to keep an eye out as well for your, if you know, whether or not your trainer is doing that with you. Are they just sort of sitting back and watching you do the exercise? Are they asking you to turn to the side, try different angles? But yeah, anything else to say on that one before we jump into the second one?
Someone just commented, I think it was Brandon, saying like, again, you don't have to worry, especially with respect to COVID and just disinfecting, because
Yes.
you're not really always sure who, if it's been thoroughly disinfected. We can hope that we're all playing our part and just keeping it safe and clean for everybody. But then you don't have to worry about that if you're doing everything at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2, convenience. I mean, this one is like, it's so hard to beat for, in terms of how, you know, excuses of not showing up, right? Like, where I used to work in Toronto, the Toronto Athletic Club, most of the people who attended there, most of the members and the clients worked in the building or in the vicinity of the area, and it was super convenient for them to just be able to go down their elevator or go up a few floors, and they're right at the gym. So not much travel time, and they can just pop in, do everything. The facilities are there, they can use it, and then boom, get out. But now we're talking like, look, you got your own personal private shower, you got your bathroom, your water's there, everything else is at your convenience. You don't have to worry about taking a subway, sitting in traffic, dealing with, proximity to other people. So super, super. Plus, you can get all the equipment for yourself, right? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go work out. Ready? Okay, I'm in my gym. Like,
Amazing.
like you can't really beat the convenience. It's definitely that. And for one of my girlfriends, it definitely eliminated the limitation of having to commute somewhere because she's a full-time job. She's a busy mom of 2, and she just doesn't have time to physically go somewhere. Some people would want that outlet just so they can go somewhere and have a different environment. But if your priority is just being able to fit fitness in, like if that means more to you than having to go somewhere, then this is a no-brainer, right? Just having the convenience of being able to just take a quick break, even if it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes is way better. 10 minutes is better than not being able to make it at all because you have to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I think virtual training, especially with respect to convenience, is going to stay. And when we do resume to, like, a lot of my corporate clients, business travel, okay, time difference factored in, we can still do our session exactly like this and not skip a beat and not have to worry about kind of regressing our program. We can stay on track the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Boss Lady had a good question about what do you say to people who do have or make up excuses despite the fact of the convenience part. And I mean, for me personally, it's a matter of where you are at with your scheduling, with your life, and what kind of commitment you want to make to making exercise and physical activity part of your daily routine. I'm not the kind of trainer who likes to guilt or shame people into exercise and physical activity. Well, maybe sometimes, but the big decision has to already be made by you, by the person, that, I want to show up. I want to do this X number of times. Beyond that, I don't have any qualifications to deal with the habitual stuff that surround, like maybe the person is going through some issues that I can't touch with a 10-foot pole, right? So
Right.
examining, I think questioning a little bit and sort of pushing like, okay, what's the limitation? Is it a scheduling thing? Is there some other kind of fear? Like, is it a safety concern? Is it that you're just not sold on virtual training? Or is it
Yeah.
something more serious? And if it is something more serious than the base stuff, then I have to sort of relegate it and be like, that's outside of the scope of my practice.
Yeah, and it could just be, I don't want to use the word cry for help, but if someone's kind of coming up with an excuse to not meet virtual, like they could have a very justifiable reason, but if it's kind of a habit, then the coach can integrate some motivational interviewing. Okay, is there a way that I can make it easier for you to commit to this time? Or if it's something else, yeah, just kind of segueing into maybe deeply rooted reasons why they're not. Maybe it's fear. Maybe they feel like they can't do it virtually because they need you there. It really is client dependent and working at their pace and just
Right.
ensuring them that, everything's going to be good.
And this is sort of just one last thing on that as well to Sharon, is that this was sort of the idea behind me making this mini 5-part series on why people should hire a virtual trainer, is to address some of these excuses, if you will, like, or fears, and they're usually around like, is it safe? How is it going to take a lot of time? Is it costly? Does it work? Like those kind of things. So hopefully beyond that, if there's something more serious, maybe someone with a bit more expertise would be qualified to deal with that. All right, number 3, cost effective. This one is huge for a lot of people. Thoughts?
Well, I think, with COVID happening, a lot of establishments in the fitness industry wanted to be really lenient and just allow things to be more accessible, because we understand that, due to safety, otherwise you would be in person, but this is the hand that we've been dealt. And there is an aspect of it that is missing, like from when you have virtual training, there's an aspect of it that does not replace the value of in person.
Right.
It does make things more inexpensive. So I know a lot of establishments and practitioners have reduced their rates to accommodate it to be virtual instead of in person. In person, it would be a different rate, and virtual, it would be different. And as well as with group classes, right? With group classes or group personal training or coaching, that also does make things more cost effective as well.
Yeah. And, aside from, say, the gym fees that people would have to be paying, like, okay, you're not paying gym fees anymore. Trainers have no overhead costs. Like, we don't have to travel. Well, we do have some overhead costs, obviously, because at the end of the day, we are, in a sense, small businesses, and we have bills to pay.
Administrative stuff, sure.
Absolutely. But not to the same rate. So, for example, if I'm working at a gym where I have to constantly give them half what my rate is, right? I don't have to worry about that anymore. So instead of, being concerned that I'm only taking home 50%, for example, in other places it's a lot less, but it's generally between 30 to 50%. I can just set it up so that I'm getting the full payment, and then I'm responsible, obviously, to take care of the taxes and whatnot. But I also don't have to pay anyone about, like, for renting a space or whatever, which
makes
I
it more
can provide
affordable to the client.
exactly, and that's really it at the end of the day. So definitely, yeah, the affordability part. Plus, again, you're not paying for transportation, you're not paying gym fees. Yeah, cost effective. Why not?
Yeah.
And in terms of equipment, I think this segues into the next part 4, that it works. There is a lot of very affordable equipment that people can get for their home. Like, boom, perfect example that you have in the background there, a TRX. So many things that you can do on the TRX. And with the right trainer who understands how angles affect your workload, doing exercises unilaterally versus bilaterally and whatnot really affects your workload. Like, we know how to make everybody achieve their their goals with what they have. It might not be,
Mhm.
like you said, not to the degree, obviously, that if you're working with a barbell or weights, if you're trying to go for certain numbers, nothing's going to replace that. Let's be honest.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that
If you're a
said,
power lifter, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
sorry, yeah, I was just going to say that said, for the average person who's sort of like realizing I'm in a pandemic, there's only so much I can do. What's the best way for me to train at home? And would
Yeah.
a virtual personal trainer allow me to get there?
And it's good to ask yourself as a client, like, what can I use? Like, if I don't have to buy anything, what around the house can I use? Before I even got kettlebells or dumbbells, before they're all sold out everywhere,
Yeah.
I was using, it was gardening season and I had big gardening bags of soil. I was squatting with bags of soil. It worked. It applied time under tension, resistance. I incorporated the core, I threw it over my head. And then I also made like a makeshift shoulder press with like a broomstick and jugs of laundry detergent. Like, and actually, I have a
Genius.
client. He just hasn't been able to get any weight.
Yeah.
So he has a couple of paint cans, he has TheraBands, and that's it. But we've been training this whole year together. And
Mhm.
he switched to running because he used to be a swimmer. He's running much faster. He's not sore from running afterwards as well. And we've managed to build muscle. How much? That's really hard to equate. But we've worked with what he had because we do have that understanding of joint angles and time under tension and all the principles around building muscle
Yeah.
and hypertrophy. So we can apply the science directly, even with knowing what you have and what you have accessibility to, we can definitely make it work.
And that's such an important point to talk about with regards to how science affects the way you train. Like, we again, we need to do a completely different thing on this one as well. How there's a lot more to exercise and training than simply moving around, right? You need to move around obviously to do some of that stuff, but there's a lot more to it. The way we approach programming, how certain weeks should feel a lot easier than other weeks, and how some weeks should feel much tougher, and how some weeks like really just go out for walks and don't lift any weights.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, but the right trainer understands all of those things, and with the right program, again, the average person who's at home looking for some solid quality physical activity and exercise can benefit greatly from this. I've been telling pretty much every person I come across who asks me, what's the number one piece of equipment I should buy for my house? I'm like, either a TRX or those resistance bands that attach to the door, just like the TRX.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
They provide
I
variable resistance. You can bring up the weight or bring it down. Tons of different exercises you can do with it. Like, it works. It works.
Yes, I did have my client because she absolutely had nothing, and that is a goal. So it's not that she just wanted to move around more; she wanted to build solid strength. I'm like, okay, so this is a situation where we should get resistance because then we can just have that progressive overload. So she did order a kit from Amazon, and it came with a block. It came with everything. I think it was under $30, and it came with a door anchor, so we can position the door anchor low, high,
Yes.
perpendicular, different resistances. We can basically do everything in the gym. And then while I'm training her virtually, I exactly give her explicit instructions. Okay, position the anchor low, use this colored band. We're
Mhm.
going to be doing this exercise, and I do it right with her. And it's been working out great.
So if I was to ask you, or if a client was to ask you, what should be, 5 pieces of equipment I should have in my home, what would you say?
I actually did a post on this last year,
Yep.
and if I can remember, so it also depends on client's budget. It depends on your budget or whatever you're willing to grab. I did say a kettlebell of moderate size. They usually go for $1 to $2 a pound, and I say kettlebell because you can do a lot of movements with it. You can do lower body strength, you can do cardio, you can do power, upper body, you can do a lot with it with just a single kettlebell. So it's multi-purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I also did say a TRX.
Mm-hmm.
I also said a skipping rope.
That's 3.
Skipping rope, so I really like the idea of a skipping rope just because it's not as high impact as some people think. It's actually really great for the lymphatic system. It's great cardio. And I can't remember the stat, don't quote me, but like half an hour of, no, 20 minutes of skipping equates to like an hour of running. I can't even remember where I said that. Don't quote me. That's probably not even
I
scientific.
recall reading something similar to that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then, okay, I think the fourth thing, did I say TRX already?
Yes.
I did.
You're up to
So
three now.
bands. Yeah, so I think I also said bands.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the fifth thing that I said, but it may have just been having a good quality mat,
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
just to add more comfort to
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're applying, whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. That's
Hmm.
pretty much. So for me, it's a mat, yoga block, foam roller, resistance bands, and a pair of the adjustable dumbbells. But again, like you
Yeah,
said, depending on the client's budget or the
right.
person's budget, it's still like if you have about $300-400, which the average person, if they're able to hire a trainer, I'm going to assume that you do have at least that much. But if you have even less, if it's one thing you're going to get, go for either a TRX or the bands, the resistance bands.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
last one,
Hmm.
supporting local and small businesses. How important is that?
I think small businesses make up communities, and they are so important. And it's been awful what COVID has done to small businesses globally. It seems like there hasn't been as much support, and as well, I think the difficulty for some businesses have is just letting the public know that they're still available, they're still able to support you, but the public just doesn't know that they're still there, and then just businesses decline and such. Um, I think that's a really important aspect to the virtual business, especially keeping the fitness industry alive. When COVID is over, so to speak,
Mhm.
right? You want those outlets to still be there. If like virtual training is not for you and you still want to be able to make it to the gym, I think you want that gym to still be there. You want that community to still have your back.
Mhm.
So showing that support, like virtual, I know some people kind of are still like, I don't know, I've never tried it, I don't think it's for me, but you are showing support for those fitness coaches, and we want the fitness industry to remain sustainable, because the fitness industry is great for your healthcare. It is great for your mental health, and there's so many benefits to fitness. You definitely want to continue to contribute and show your support.
Absolutely. There was
Yeah.
one of my friends, I think, put it really well and said, if you have a salary job and you are in a position to be able to support a trainer, but you're not because you're too afraid that virtual training is not going to work for you, don't expect that trainer to be around for you after all said and done. On an individual level, like if we're doing the sort of the solo freelance thing as trainers, we don't have the same opportunities, say, as big clubs or gyms to file for bankruptcy or rent deferment or anything like that. Like we file for bankruptcy, it's on us, like usually on a very personal level. And it's like, you guys are afraid of closing your doors for big gyms and big clubs. We're afraid of getting kicked out of our doors because
Mm-hmm.
we're literally like, none of us are getting rich from this. We're literally just trying to stay afloat during this very hard time. Everybody loves to say this whole thing about how we're all in this together. Dude, we may all be in the same storm, but some of us are clearly in much better boats. Some of us are just on life rafts, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so in that sense, like you really, really put it so well that small businesses support communities, right? We work really hard to give our clients quality service, to develop very worthwhile relationships with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in a sense, we put the personal in personal training, right? So it's super helpful. Like I've had a couple of friends have reached out and sort of asked for some help with their health and fitness goals, with some of their daily physical activity stuff, and they were super generous enough to reach out and support as well, to pay me for my services. And that just means so much. It's so freaking important. Like, you're not too good to support virtual trainers, man. Come on. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
All right, I'm gonna let you have the last word since you are the host for today.
Oh dear. Well,
Is virtual, so I'm gonna let you have it with by posing a question for you.
okay.
All things considered now, is virtual training here to stay, or just something that's being done in the interim?
I think it's here to stay. 1,000%. It's here to stay, and I think people will like be having the continued option of either virtual or in person. I think it's going to be a combination, whether you are traveling, whether you are a beginner and you just are intimidated by the gym environment, whether you're busy and you just can't make it there, eliminating commute, safety. What if, God forbid, knock on wood, another different pandemic starts, right? The virtual platform is definitely going to be that outlet for you. So I think people, if you haven't given virtual fitness a try, I think be open-minded. I don't think it's as limiting as you think it is. And it could just be the one thing that you need to kind of kickstart your fitness back again. Especially if you've been inconsistent due to the pandemic.
That really couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you so much, Francesca. I always enjoy
Thank you.
doing these for you. Please, everyone, reach out to both of us, send us messages, questions. Let us know if there's any topics you would like us to discuss on further Friday Fitness Forum. I really like that name. I really do. I want to keep saying
Did I come
that.
up with that? I think I did.
Yes, you did. Yeah, that was all you. That was all you. I love it. I came up with some stupid, like, it was like tea with a trainer, and you're like, no, Friday Fitness Forum. I was like,
Terrible.
done.
Terrible.
But hey, look, I got my tea, so I'm still, kind of in my head. Tea with a trainer. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Francesca, always a pleasure, dear. Talk to you soon.
You got it. Bye, everybody.
Take care.